to another episode of Tech Talk with Ethan, and today I'm here with Krys Fehervari, who is a wig and makeup artist. Hello, Krys. Thank you for joining me today.
Hi, Ethan. So glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Sure. My name is Krys Fehervari. I'm predominantly a hair designer. I've done makeup design as well. Right now, I'm mostly focused on wig design, and I work in theater with a couple of high schools now. But I'm a multimedia artist, and I've done everything from like hair and makeup design from the Los Angeles Opera to building 16-foot tall peacocks for an installation at the Venetian Hotel. So
wow, that's that's a big
the
range.
world of design, I'm a happy girl. Yeah.
That's great. How'd you get into makeup and hair?
I like to joke and say that I wasn't any good in science, but I loved science. So whatever I was studying in science in high school, I would recreate in makeup and drama later in the afternoon. So if we were talking about fingers, I'd end up sculpting fingers in class later in the afternoon. If we're talking about blood, I would have to do some kind of scars and bruises in theater later in the afternoon. So, but honestly, I don't know. It's just something I've always done. I used to play as a little girl, you play with your mom, like dolls or cooking or whatever. Well, we played like beauty supply or beauty shop. And I never did like normal hair and makeup on my mom. I always did like if I was mad at her, I'd make her look like a witch. Or if I was, somehow feeling like life was down, and maybe I'd pretend like we were poor and desolate, and I'd make us look dirty and put on shabby clothes. Or sometimes I'd want to pretend like we were rich and opulent, and so I'd put on fancy clothes and fancy makeup and all of that. So
that's great. That's really cool that you had that to mess around with, and kind of experiment.
Yeah, and if my mom wasn't around, I'd use my dog. So I had a great dog back when I was.
How'd that work on the dog? Just you put the makeup of the dog and you go from there?
Ginger would let me do anything to her. It was so much fun. I remember times I had curlers in her hair. So,
that's funny.
I'm sure I probably end up cutting her hair because I cut all of my doll's hair. So
yeah.
I think I was born to do what I do.
Yeah. So did you take sculpting classes in school?
So my grandmother, she was always very artistic, and as just all growing up through life, whenever we were at grandma's house to be babysat or whatever, we would do different craft projects. So I learned sculpting through her. I actually did take some sculpting classes with my grandmother, sewing, wallpaper hanging. My grandparents owned little courtyard of apartments, and so I grew up learning how to build and to fix and to paint and to sew and to just all those skills that are technical skills that came in handy later in life when I chose theater. So yeah.
Nice. Did you know you wanted to go in hair and makeup from those experiences after school?
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved hair and makeup. I think because I've always loved diversity. Honestly, I'm not just saying that because it's a buzz topic right now. I've always been enamored with different skin tones and different cultures and different ethnicities and, eye shapes and face shapes and all of that. So to me, it's so beautiful to have just the exquisite diversity of the world and to learn about cultures through studying them and trying to emulate them in different makeup designs. So it's a fun thing for me in design to to draw from maybe African American culture and put it into an Asian setting, or to draw from an Asian culture and put it into a very white setting or whatever. It all depends, just I'm very eclectic with my designs. So yeah.
Yeah, nice. That's cool how you can you have an idea and it transfers out into mix things up. It's good to mix things up, of course.
And it's actually true. so people will always ask me like, so is it hard to work with like curly hair if they have curly hair?
Uh-huh.
And I'll be like, well, and this is true. Every culture has every type of hair. So everybody has thin hair or thick hair or coarse hair or thin hair or straight hair or curly hair or wavy hair. So it's a misnomer and a Hollywood, what do you call it when it, like a stereotype?
Yeah.
Say like Asians only have straight, coarse, black hair.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've met Asians with curly red hair. So
oh, really?
Yeah. So, and this the same thing is true. Like my husband is Jamaican and German, but his Jamaican is of Spanish heritage, but he has like the kinkiest, curliest red. Well, now it's auburn, but red hair, and you wouldn't you don't think that about being in every culture, but just like every culture has albinos, every culture has every texture hair. So
nice. That's really interesting to like know that, every type of, ethnicity has, a certain type of, hair and all that. That's great to know. Could you explain what the job of a makeup and hair artist is or does?
Sure. So a hair artist or makeup artist would be the person who styles hair on a film set or in a theatrical setting or salon. And then a designer is somebody who actually creates the unique look or silhouette of whatever is happening. So on a film set, if you're the designer, you're the one in charge of creating the shapes, and you might have multiple hair artists working under you. So another way of saying it is lead hairstylist, key hairstylist, whatever. So,
so you've designed, right?
I've done both, of course. Like in a 30-year career, you've done both. So. But yes, I would consider myself a designer at this point. Yeah.
Okay. Could you what was your design process for a particular production?
Well, I read the scripts. It's very helpful to read the script through first because there might be issues in the script, like the script might say they don a hat. So you don't want to necessarily spend 20 hours doing this beautiful braid if the character is always wearing a hat. So if that's part of the script, then, you have to know that as a designer. And then I really like to work with my actors. So I like to know where they're going with the character, if what's their character's backstory, because a lot of that plays into them now, right? Like just like our own lives, if we came from a dysfunctional, impoverished family, we might be a little bit more disheveled, or especially if we're working through it. But if we had that in the past, we might be totally vehemently opposed to ever looking like that or alluding to that ever again. And so we might go completely on the opposite spectrum and be super polished all the time. So it's fun to look into the psychology and the backstory of the characters and really work with the actors in that regard to figure out where they feel comfortable. So when the hair and makeup is done on them, they feel like, yes, this is me as the character.
Exactly. Do you do a lot of back reading, reading about the era of the show and to get a sense of what that makeup would look like or hair would look like?
Definitely. There's a lot of research that goes into it. And in fact, that's my specialty, is period hair and makeup design. So if you were to ask me to do something from 1865, I have a working knowledge off the top of my head of what that would look like. That would be Blood Oath. I think we're going to show Blood Oath later this afternoon for people who have the link to it. So that's a Victorian piece, and that's that time period, which is distinctly different than closer to the turn of the century, 1890s, where you're going from more ornate styles into the more of a loose, Gibson girl kind of look. And same thing is true. There's a distinct difference between the 30s and the 50s in hair, and that, and obviously the very iconic 40s of the, World War II era hair. So
yeah, that's cool. It's good to research stuff to know what you're doing on people. like in a typical day, how long does like hair and makeup combined take you to do on an actor?
Well, it depends on the style. It depends on if we're working with a wig or if we're working with natural hair. So, but to do a natural hairstyle could hopefully you can get it done in half an hour to an hour, even with a little bit, more coiffing entailed. But sometimes, you can spend up to 3 hours, especially if you're getting ready for like a photo shoot or something like that. You might take 3 to 4 hours getting every little hair just in the right place. So
yeah,
it just depends on what medium you're working in. So.
Nice. What's one of the craziest hairstyles you've done on you've created?
I think I sent you guys a picture of it. I call it tree hair, and I literally sculpted the model's natural hair and added hair into a wire form to make it look like a tree was growing out of the top of her head.
That's great. Yeah. Sweet. That's cool.
And then I've done like some pretty crazy like not Renaissance, like French Restoration pieces where I've, built in ships or just crazy cages, bird cages into hairstyles and stuff like that. So yeah.
Nice. Nice. So you've worked on a couple of multiple productions. What have those been?
We want me to start from the beginning of my career? Like we've got 30 years.
You could name a few.
So I worked at the LA Opera, and I worked on shows like why can't I think of Mozart's Magic Flute, Wagner's The Flying Dutchman. You're putting me on the spot. You're making this old brain have to remember things. I've worked on several productions of Mary Poppins, Into the Woods, Lend Me a Tenor. I mean, I've worked in almost every theatrical venue in town. So, yeah.
Nice. You also worked on a few shorts. Blood Oath was one of them. How'd you get involved with that?
I don't know, like word of mouth, I guess. I've been very fortunate in my career to not really have to like seek work, but I work with, different actors on one production, and then they recommend me when they're on another production or request me for another production, or just meet people in the business and, work on different colleagues or acquaintances productions. So.
Could you tell us a little bit about what that short was about?
Blood Oath?
Yes.
It was for a film festival called 168 Hour Film Project. And that's making a film from start to finish in 168 hours, which is 1 week. And they're all based on a Bible verse. It's for and so it was a Christian vampire piece. It's really interesting in that regard because you don't necessarily think of something that'll have like, faith base to it to be about like vampires. So yeah. So it was really fun from that aspect of it, but it was fun just from being able to do a period piece like that and then incorporating the whole vampire aspect to it. So you have like the fantastical and the historical.
For the vampire look, how'd you play? Did you go off Dracula? I'm guessing for that inspiration.
I kind of looked at a bunch of different inspirations for that. Like Twilight was kind of big at the time, and I liked some of the references of like icy skin, and because when you die, your skin is cold and there's no blood circulation. So for Blood Oath, kind of inspired by like, the lack of circulation and the darkening of veins and kind of an icy look to it.
For wigs, for shows and movies, how do you find certain wigs, and how's that work?
I have a couple wig companies that I like to purchase from. But a lot of times I'll take a base wig. I know how to build a wig from scratch, and like we would do that for the opera. They build all their own wigs at the opera. But that's very time consuming and very cost prohibitive for, for smaller productions. And so a lot of times I'll just take a ready made wig from, just about any wig store, synthetic, and then I'll add to it by adding extensions or cutting it the way I need to cut it, or now I just start from already made wigs.
And you should add on from there.
I paint wigs. I change the colors of wigs. I sculpt wigs by cutting them or just, manipulating them with my hands or whatever. So
that's cool. So like for like extensions, like that's like longer, shorter, like you extend the wig, right?
Exactly. So like for example, I had to do a Rapunzel piece, and so I got a long-haired wig that was blonde already, but of course, it's not typical to, I think there's a picture of it up on the screen. It's not typical to find a wig that, the hair goes all the way down to the floor. And so I bought extensions and I just braided them in and continued adding to it till it was long enough for the piece, then in a workable way for the actor, because obviously you don't want it to have too much hair so the actor's tripping on it all over stage. So
yeah, for sure. That's cool though. You can like add to the wig to make it its own, for each production.
I did that with we had to do Disney princesses. I've also worked at Disneyland, so I have a pretty good working knowledge of all the princesses. Whenever I meet little girls, I like to tell them that I've done all the princesses' hair, because it's true, I have.
Yeah.
But Jasmine's wig is quite interesting, because of course she has those perfect spheres going down the back of her head. So not only do you have to add hair, but you have to get that shaping in there, and it's a fun challenge, but I love those kind of things. So.
Nice. How long do you work at Disney?
I worked at Disney for, I don't know, a couple years I maintained all the wigs for the park.
Nice. Sweet. Like I'm guessing that was a lot. That was like, was there a number? Is there a number of how many?
I'm picking up like 150 wigs every day.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
So I deliver the wigs I picked up the day before, and I bring home a big pile of wigs, and that covered everything from like Pirates of the Caribbean beards and mustaches and wigs to, like they wear wigs for the restaurants on campus.
Yeah.
Too, so
nice. Like if like a wig gets like damaged, you have to like tangled, you have to like go through it and like rat it out, like.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I should have unplugged the phone. Let me unplug it.
No problem. We will show a clip of Blood Oath at the end of the production, guys. So stay tuned for that. Watch a clip of Blood Oath, the show that she did hair on and makeup on. So we were talking about hair. So like it's like if like a wig gets like messed up, whatever, people play with it, you like go through and like untangle it and redo it.
Yes. So for any of you actors who are out there, please do not remove the wig like this at the end of the night, because that just means that we have to reset the whole thing. And especially for the more ornate styles, that could entail having to comb it all out, roll it all up again, and then do the whole styling all over again. So that could be upwards from 4 or 5 hours of work that we have to do. So when you remove your wig, mind where they put the pins to put it on you. And, if you can't figure it out, ask for assistance or whatever, because that's just courteous and respectful of the person who's done the artwork that you the better for acting. So.
Her job harder, so just do her favor and take it off properly, so she doesn't go through the whole entire process.
Just like
Yeah.
you don't want another actor
Um,
moving your props around. You don't want to mess up somebody
yeah,
else.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah. It just,
that etiquette.
it's theater etiquette, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, going back to makeup. So you've done makeup too for productions. What does that entail?
What does make like breaking
Like,
down the script again and like looking at it and seeing what an actor might need. It
mm,
might there might be like there might be mention of somebody having a scar under their left eye in a script, or having a bruise on their right eye or whatever. So just minding the script and being able to um, create the look that is called for.
mm-hmm. We have a picture up right now of a look she did.
Mm-hmm.
What show is that from? The look we.
That was actually an editorial piece. It was for a magazine.
Nice. So you did magazines and television.
Mm-hmm. I've literally done everything.
Jack of all trades, of course.
Well, I mean, if you're a hair and makeup artist, you work, I mean, anything
Yeah.
that's going to have a picture taken of it. So I've literally been called in to do, real estate agents' hair and makeup
Oh yeah.
for their business cards. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly.
that sounds like silly or whatever, but it's a thing. Like, you want to look good on your business card. So,
Yeah.
it.
Yep, for sure. Of all like the hair and makeup looks you've created, do you have a favorite that you like? You've done?
I really enjoyed working on a production of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde that was directed by Mary Jo Dupree at the Actors Co-op in Hollywood. And it was interesting because it was like an ensemble piece. So a lot of the actors played Mr. Hyde several different times in the show. And the way Mary Jo directed that was she used lighting to incorporate that. So it was really, really awesome challenge for me to create a makeup design that in regular light they would look like normal people, but in the different colored light when they turned into Mr. Hyde, then their face would morph. And so that was really fun and really challenging to do.
That's cool. Just like with lighting and makeup, you can do a whole lot of things with.
Yeah, because they didn't have, it was an ensemble piece, so they never really left stage. So there wasn't really time to go off stage and then make your face look morphed for Mr. Hyde and then clean it off and come back, because it was literally like while they were walking across the stage, they'd morph into this character.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was cool though. It turned out cool.
Nice. So what'd you do how'd you make that work?
So having a really good working knowledge of what theatrical lighting will do to makeup. So if you have like a red based makeup and you put red light on it, it won't show up because the red light will make it disappear. It's just like if you're like have red script on a paper and you try to like read that page through red lenses or red you won't see the red writing. But then if you have green writing and you look through red lenses, it'll appear black because the red negates the green and turns it to black. So just having a really good working knowledge of lighting and color is imperative.
Nice. Would that be called color theory? Right? No, is that a thing?
Yeah, a really good working knowledge of the color wheel, knowing what opposites are, and
nice.
Knowing what tertiary colors are, and
that's cool. It's cool how we can play with lighting and know all about that to make makeup look good in certain light.
I mean, it helps. It's like, ladies, if you've ever gone to the DMV and wonder why the heck your lipstick looks like bright orange afterward, when you distinctly know that you did not put orange lipstick on, is probably the flash and the lighting that they have in the room that will change the color of your lipstick in the photography. It doesn't necessarily have to do with printing. So I personally always sit and watch what the flash is doing, and then I tweak my makeup appropriately for the DMV.
It seems very important because you don't want if you don't pay attention, like you said, the orange is gonna be like, you'll be like, huh, I know what orange makeup the DMV like, but that's I not know that played a part in that. That's cool. So like I said earlier, we're gonna play a clip of Blood Oath. But is there anything else? Is there a website we can find your work on, or social media people can follow you on?
Sadly, no. I'm older and not real apt with that. I am gonna get my acting gear and do it. I do have an Instagram page, but I never feed pictures onto it. But I'm gonna start because I have like over 3,000 pictures.
I'm guessing. I bet you have a whole bunch of pictures. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've been talking to, like, I work now in high schools and it's a lot of fun, but a lot of the younger generation's very interested to hear, how things really haven't changed all that much from when I first started till now, and even new products, like I know the younger generation always hears from older generation, like, you guys think you know everything, but really nothing's changed. And it's just fun to like interact, and I learn new techniques from people. But it's fun to hear like, oh yeah, or that's just a tweaking of something like how we used to do it way back in the day or whatever, so.
Yeah, that's cool. But thank you so much for talking to me today, Krys.
Sure. Do we have a couple seconds left? Because I'd like to share that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like on Blood Oath, if you guys do watch it, the guy's hair is down to his waist, and I had to actually pin up his hair because he couldn't cut it for his day job. He was working at Medieval Times, and we didn't have a wig that would work on him that didn't look like a wig, because just I don't know why, but we didn't. So we opted to like pin it all up. So that's kind of fun to look at and know that his short haircut is actually all pinned up in the back. So, and you don't see any pins, so like, yay. And and the vampires were a lot of fun because we had to like create those teeth on the fly. So I did it out of I created false teeth out of nail acrylic, and then we glued them on with denture glue to the front of their teeth, because the teeth that we had bought that were theatrical teeth, the actors couldn't talk with us and they kept lisping, and it was really terrible. So we had to create prosthetic teeth, and that was a lot of fun.
That's cool. That's really cool. So look out for that. After we will play the clip of that. So stay tuned for that, guys. But again, thank you, Krys, so much for talking with me.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Bye. Yes, no problem. Thank you, guys. See you guys.